We did a full modification of this Adventure Force Monolith, including a rewire for 16 gauge, upgraded agitator and conveyor powertrains, and the very, very sweet frosting on the cake, a 4S lithium-ion battery pack. Let's get into it. What's going on, Foam Fam? Before we get into today's video, I have to let you know we're doing a huge giveaway at 4,000 subscribers just around the corner. We've been doing big giveaways every time we double our subscribers, basically. This is going to be our biggest giveaway yet. So if you haven't hit the subscribe button, you might want to, just for the sake of being notified when we do upload videos, but also for the sweet opportunity of winning an amazing blaster. And we also put out some really good shorts with bargains, clearance, and sale alerts, which enables you to get a good deal on probably a blaster you've been looking at for a while. And if you don't mind, please hit the like button. It helps the algorithm recommend this video to more people, so that more people just like you can become aware of this channel and all the things that we do to help people modify their blasters, get good deals on their blasters, and review blasters so that you spend your money wisely. You can also give us a follow on Instagram. We do post a lot of things on there that we do not post on YouTube. And with that out of the way, let's get into it. After Nerf's rival ball debut in 2015 with the Apollo blaster, many blaster companies eventually started falling in line and creating their own rival ball equivalent style ball blaster ecosystems. Dart Zone was definitely one of them. In 2017, Dart Zone came out with two lines to represent their new ball blaster line. It was Ballistic Ops for their main Dart Zone line. Adventure Force Tactical Strike represented their Walmart distribution for their ball blasters. Their first two offerings was the Titanium and the Powerball. These blasters had a very classic yet primitive look with their little hoppers on the top. What are you doing? Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hey, not enough mods. What are you doing? These people don't want to see no freaking history, bro. These people want to see a 4S LiPo mod. This is my show. What are you doing? These people want to see a 4S LiPo mod. They don't want to see no history. What do you mean? Get out of here with these boring history lessons, bro. They love history time. Don't you guys love history lessons? Come on, dude. Come on. Don't you guys want to see a 4S time? Get out of here. All right. Get out of here. I'm out. Woof. Good riddance. You guys like history time, right? Drop a comment down below and let me know if you guys like history time every time we do any kind of video. Anyways, eventually they did away with the whole silly hopper idea and they started creating blasters with internalized hoppers like the Monolith that I have here, which debuted in 2021 as an Adventure Force blaster. Dart Zone will also eventually funnel in their Pro blasters into this Walmart Tactical Strike line, as you can see here with the Nexus Pro, the Aeon Pro, and eventually the Conquest Pro and the Deuce Pro. However, they would continue making blasters up until 2022 when the Ranger 3-shot blaster came out. We haven't really seen any new releases since then, but the Monolith was their last motorized offering. However, just like their Nemesis equivalent, the Quantum, these blasters were received with mixed reception. There was a lot of complaints about deviated ball flight path, underwhelming power. I mean, this thing operated on 6D batteries, which you would think would be sufficient because it is a 9-volt system. However, ball blasters like the Perseus, the Quantum, and the Nemesis, these are usually 380 style motors with much bigger flywheels to be able to squeeze these balls out. And the 9-volt 6D size battery powertrain was just not doing it. Even though this blaster's single shot performance wasn't terrible, I think the balls would even reach up to 110 FPS with stock batteries. The main weak point on this blaster was always the fire rate. As you held the trigger down, eventually it would just choke up and the balls would just have a really hard time getting out. Sometimes it would just slow down to like maybe 1 or 2 shots per second. It was that bad. If you check the ratings on most YouTube reviews out of darts, Coop772 to name a few, they were very underwhelmed with the performance of this blaster. However, in today's video, I'm going to show you how we attempted and succeeded at ultimately fixing all the downsides of this blaster and make it an actual competitive and extremely fun blaster to wield in any Nerf battle. Let's take it to the workbench and start from the beginning. Catch you guys on the other side. All right, guys, so I understand there's not a lot of mod videos on YouTube about the Monolith. And if there is, there's one common thing that you see on all videos, and it's that the firing rate, no matter how high of an upgrade you do to the flywheel motors or to the blaster's power supply, the fire rate is still abysmally slow. The main issue with this blaster and why it's so difficult to get the fire rate up is because there's only one motor in charge of both the agitation mechanism, which controls this flap that moves rapidly back and forth to agitate your ammo into the conveyor belt, but it's also in charge of the conveyor belt that motivates the ammo into the flywheels. So the clear solution to this is obviously upgrade the motor to something of high velocity and higher torque. Now, the only way to do this if you don't have spec sheets for motors is do it by sound. First thing we want to do is we want to listen to the sound of this motor. And by the sound, you can also determine an average range of RPMs, or at least determine an average turn the motor is. Now, turn type means the amount of copper windings inside the motor, which ultimately is going to determine the amount of RPMs that motor puts out. The higher the number of turns a motor is, the lower the total output RPM of that motor is going to be. What we're going to do right now is just a simple test. I'm going to get this extra microphone. I'm going to put it right here so you guys could just listen to the stock motor's RPM output. And then I have a couple other motors we'll compare it to, and ultimately we're going to pick the strongest, fastest motor that I have in my inventory right now to replace this agitator slash conveyor motor with. I'm gonna grab just a quick 2S power supply with an open lead here. I built this power supply recently for my Moto Blitz. Basically, all we're gonna do real quick is we're gonna put some leads to the motor. We're gonna listen to its RPM, and then we're gonna check other motors that we have here in our disposal and see which motor is gonna be the best for the job. Here we go. One more time. All right, this battery's not fully charged, but it's pretty well charged, so that gives us an idea. Now, we're gonna go ahead and get another conveyor or pusher motor from another blaster. These motors are always intended to be lower RPMs on purpose. You don't need a pusher mechanism motor to spin as fast as a flywheel motor. These motors are always gonna be high turn, and I'll show you right now. See what I mean? Now we're gonna try an Out of Darts 130 series Valkyrie flywheel motor so you can hear the difference. Heard that? Let's go one more time. Clearly a higher pitch of sound indicating a higher RPM. Now we're just gonna grab a random 130 series motor from a blaster that uses very tiny flywheels. I believe it's a blaster that I recently dismantled. This comes to show you how every motor has a different turn in it. Here we go. Quite the difference, huh, guys? So we already know a random 130 motor from a blaster that I had taken apart, which uses tinier flywheels, needs a higher RPM because of the smaller flywheel than what a Valkyrie would need with a standard flywheel. So it's not always performance brand motors only, bro. Sometimes you have to step outside the box and find a lower turn motor that spins at a faster RPM to get this agitator and this conveyor belt moving faster so that our blaster in turn can have a faster fire rate. We're gonna continue this rewire, and then we're gonna get back to the project. Let's get into it. All right, guys. To give you a little recap on what we've done so far, we've basically rewired our entire blaster with this nice 16 gauge AC copper power cord that I love to use. In addition, we have upgraded our agitator slash conveyor belt motor with a very high speed flywheel motor from another blaster. I do expect this to improve conditions. Since there is only one motor in charge of this entire assembly, it is crucial for this motor to have adequate speed, not only to feed the ammo faster, but also to operate this agitator much faster, ensuring our ammo is going to feed properly. We're basically going to put this blaster back together. We're going to hook up our 4S, take it to the mini range. Let's get it. All right, guys, you're going to think this is absolutely crazy, but this little flap, what it's intended to do is to allow one ball through and then enough time for another ball intentionally to be some kind of rhythmic firing so that the blaster doesn't just hose out all the balls. But I think it ended up actually inhibiting fire rate rather than helping it be a little bit more consistent. Now I know the Percy's doesn't use one of these by default, but I figured let's take it off to see if it makes a difference on the Monolith. All right, guys, the moment we've all been waiting for. This is the classic 4S battery, the one I used for the Ultra Speed video, the one I used for the 4S Mark III video, and today we're gonna put 4S power into our custom modified Monolith. These are very high drain batteries. They're rated at 30 amp discharge. They came out of a Dyson vacuum cleaner. I have very high confidence. These are some of the best cells I've ever worked with. We're gonna go ahead and pack it in here with a nice thermal pad just to form a nice tight fit with the door, and it also helps for any potential temperature spikes. Let's get to it, guys. We're gonna do a mag dump test with the D batteries first. Then we're gonna go through a series of batteries. We're gonna try a 3S LiPo. We're gonna try a 9.6 volt nickel metal hydride. We're gonna try an 8.4 volt nickel metal hydride. Let's get started with the 6 alkaline D batteries, guys. That was less than impressive. Of course, alkalines, you can always count on them for doing that. Next up is the 8.4 volt nickel metal hydride pack. Let's get to it, guys. All right, guys, now testing with the 8.4 volt nickel metal hydride. Let's get this party started. not too bad. A little bit of an improvement. Next, we're gonna do the nickel metal hydride 9.6 volt battery pack. All right, guys, got the 9.6 volt battery pack. This one's a hefty one. We're gonna go ahead and empty the mag with this and see how she does. Let's get to it. Already seeing a vast improvement with 9.6 volts. Now the next test is going to be a 3S lithium ion battery consisting of three 2800 milliamp batteries rated at a 30 amp draw. Let's get to it, guys. All right, guys, 3S LiPo, no dart door, let's go. I noticed that the fire rate gets better once the balls are below a certain amount. Like, it doesn't feed that well when it's like packed to the top, but when it's like just below par, it feeds a little bit better. I'm gonna try with 20 rounds in the chamber next time to see if that changes anything. All right, guys, 4S power. I put like 20 rounds in it just to see if it makes a difference in the fire rate. Let's get it. All right, guys, I wanted to test the theory. I reinstalled the dart door just to see if it does make a difference. We'll compare videos after that, but let's get to it. It's hard to tell. I'm seeing the same result. As the ammo count gets lower in the hopper, it starts shooting a little bit more Percy-ish. Overall, happy with it. All right, guys, I noticed something interesting. I put some Nerf original rival balls in my Monolith, and it shot quite differently, and you'll see what I'm saying here in a minute. But just to see if we can isolate the issue to ammo, what I did is I also put the Adventure Force Ballistic Ops ammo in my Percy's, and we're gonna do a round of that now after this Monolith round of rival balls, just to see if it has anything to do with the ammo. So first, let's empty out this Monolith using rival ammo on 4S. My room is getting pretty inundated with this foam ball dust, guys. This 4S power supply just completely pushes the limits of this ammo. Let's get to it, guys. Night and day. We're gonna see how the Percy's does with the Adventure Force ammo. Let's go. All right, so we know that the Percy's doesn't have a built-in motivator like the Monolith does. It relies just on gravity to bring the balls to the belt. That's why oftentimes you have to do the coop shake, as it was coined. Basically shake it downwards to get the balls to reach the conveyor belt. The Monolith has a built-in agitator, as we've discussed many times during this video, which allows the balls just to quickly funnel down to the conveyor. We can clearly see who is the winner here in terms of just all-around features. It just would have been better if Adventure Force, or Dart Zone in this case, would have given us this kind of power supply, or at least a 9.6 volt. Let's go give our final thoughts, guys. I have to say, the best thing about this mod was the price point of the blaster itself. Now, this blaster wasn't too expensive to begin with, but for a 6D battery and its initial performance at $35, which was the original MSRP, I would say it was a little bit out of the range of a decent price point. But now that it's on clearance, you can walk into most Walmarts now and pick this up at the very, very highest price of $20. I've seen it at $17. I've seen it as low as $9. Obviously, locations might vary. If the blaster has been sitting at your local Walmart for longer than other Walmart, it'll obviously be receiving a deeper discount at that Walmart. But overall, for spending $20 on a blaster that you can probably get it rewired, build a custom battery pack, add a couple 5 or 10 amp switches, all for under $40, I think that this is a very, very viable option for a competitive rival blasting game. This is probably going to be my primary for Jared's Blaster Battle 9. When I do go next year, I keep seeing all these reels of just people having an amazing time. This is probably going to be my primary for then. Probably even 2 of these, because as you can see, it does have a small grip, but the blaster becomes very light when you introduce a Li-ion battery versus 6D batteries. I mean, it's almost an entire pound. I would definitely say that from a price point perspective, being able to pick this up at $9 all the way up to $17 or $20, and then just putting an extra maximum of $40 in upgrades in it, that number gets much lower if you already have this stuff in your house. I have a lot of 18650 lithium cells here at the house. I have a lot of TV power cords which have that native copper 16 gauge wire, probably only in switches and XT connectors. You can get those for pennies on the dollar on Amazon. This is an amazing little blaster once you factor in the things that you can do to fix it. I would say one of the biggest breakthroughs was to be able to upgrade the agitator and conveyor belt powertrain. That pretty much changed the entire behavior of the blaster as far as fire rate. The dart gate, removing it or adding it in, I didn't really see much of a difference between the two, so I just went ahead and put it back in there because I think it does add a little bit of function. I guess it does allow the rounds to fire out at a certain timing instead of just hosing out, which I didn't experience that too much without it, so I just left it in there. I mean, the engineers must have added it for some kind of reason. I know the Percy's doesn't need it, but on this blaster it did have it, and it doesn't hurt anything, especially when running the 14.8 volt Li-ion battery. I didn't see much of a difference. But anyways, there you have it, guys. The 4S 14.8 volt lithium ion fully modded Monolith. I couldn't be happier with a rival blaster. Clearly you can run the Nerf rival balls if you want a little bit more of that consistent fire rate. The Adventure Force / Ballistic Ops balls work just fine with this. They all fire straight, there's no deviation. All those problems seem to have been eradicated as soon as we added extra voltage and power to the blaster with some good wiring to carry that current throughout the system. If you guys enjoyed this video, you're definitely gonna like this one. I'll catch you on the next one. Stay blasting, foam fam.